Okay, so right now we're in Parashat Re'eh, and we're facing the, in a week from now we're going to celebrate Rosh Chodesh Elul, which means we're really getting closer to Rosh Hashanah. And now the question what Parashat Re'eh is about, and as usual, many times you see that one parasha is a continuation of the lesson of the previous parasha, and there's a build-up. So what is this parasha about? So first of all, let's try to understand what does it say in the Hebrew. So it says Re'eh Anuchi. The parasha is on Deuteronomy Dvarim chapter 11, verse 26, and it starts with the word see. The word see, Re'eh, as a command, or like, okay, Anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha uklala. I give in front of you a blessing and a curse. So if this is God, it's like, why do you want to give me a curse? Why just give me a blessing? Okay? And we spoke about it last week, and I'm going to repeat because it's a really continuation. And then it says, Et habracha asher tishmeu el mitzvot Adonai Elohechem asher anochi metzaveh etchem hayom. And the blessing is when you listen to the mitzvot of God that I'm giving you today. Okay, so that sounds very religious, right? God says, you won't expect something else. If you do what I'm telling you, you're going to be blessed. If you don't, you're not going to do what I'm telling you, you're going to be cursed. Okay, that's very simple. Okay, so we can finish the class and we go home, right? But it's not as simple it is. It's much deeper than that if we really want to understand what's going on over here. Now, what did we learn last week? Last week, we had that special understanding in Ekev that the world, we can look at it as a two-dimensional structure. One is what the eyes can see and the ears can hear, and the nose can smell and the mouth can taste and the fingers can touch. This is the physical world, and we said last week, we learned that basically the Kabbalists see it as an onion. Onion has these different layers. Yes. Okay? However, the onion, the way you get it in the store, it has the outer layer, which is the brown skins. And the brown skins, if you're a Jewish housewife, it's good to make the cholent brown, right? To color the cholent. I don't know any other uses for the skins unless to throw them away. Okay, just for the color. And this is a great example for what life is about. What we learned in Parashat Ekev last week, and in this parasha even stronger, is that this is the way the universe is structured. We have this issue that we live in a universe in which we can see what with our five senses, and we can experience with the five senses very low and minimal level of pleasure and content. This is referred to as the skins of the onions. Now, the inside of the onions has few layers, and one layer is called Sfirat Chochmah, one is called Sfirat Bina, one is called Sfirat Zeranpin, Tiferet, one is called Sfirat Malchut. These layers are the real internal stuff. And so we explained that the problem is when we say that somebody has a bracha, is blessed, or is lucky, is because he's happy. And when does the person become happy? It's when he's feeling blessed. And what makes the person feeling blessed? We learn, and you know what? Modern research of the last decade especially, was trying to find out what makes the person feel, you know what? I'm there. And the answer is not the amount of money. The answer is meaning. The answer is something that is not just, what model of a car, of clothes, whatever you have. It is about the meaning. And what we understand, this is basically the spiritual dimension of the universe. So if we talk about the universe we compare it to the layers of the onion. So in the layers of the onion, it's like eating the inside of the onion, and you just put away the skins, the onion skins, or just use it for the coloring. Now, whoever, as we learned last week, is connecting only to the onion skins and throws away the onion, as much as you're going to eat from the skins, you're going to stay feeling empty. You're going to feel like, I'm eating, and it's like, why is it that my belly is empty? Why is it that I still feel that I'm not there? That it's not what I want? What's wrong with me? I have the money, I have the cars, I have this and I have this, and unfortunately, the world is full today with people like this. Who are these people? The people that just go by this idol worshipping of shop till you drop, of consumption and consumption and consumption. And you know what? Let's say you have the ability to afford, to have the most expensive cars. There's nothing wrong about it. You have to understand, there's nothing wrong about owning a lot of stuff and being rich. The question is, do you build your happiness and fulfillment on the skins? Which means, the Zohar explained, this is the experience that is built only upon the five senses experience. That can give you a very short-term fulfillment. I'm calling it the high and buy. Let's say, that the way it works with all kinds of physical fulfillments. Let's say you buy a fancy car. Can keep you high for a while, depends how much it costs, for a day or two, a week or two, but then you go back to what's wrong with me, what's missing. So then maybe you have this luxury vacation, and then another luxury vacation. It's always kind of chasing some stuff, but deeper inside, you still feel that you are not fulfilled. How do you know? You're not happy. You're not really happy. And then you know what happens. When a person is depleted, when a person is really spiritually empty, your energy level drops. And then you become weak. And when you become weak, we know you start to be susceptible to addictions. Addiction is dependency in what people say about me, dependency on drugs, to feel high, to feel good, dependency on, I'm talking about also legal drugs, not just illegal drugs, dependency on liquor, about alcohol, dependency in consumption, buying, shopping, going somewhere, extreme sport, all kinds of stuff like this, that if you don't have it, you don't have that kind of a fulfillment, which is very short-term, you feel that you're just losing it. So you're running after that. And the problem is that you stay empty. And this is the biggest disease of our generation. Because you have so much and you don't have enough. Okay? So how do you change that? So here we go back into what we're reading over here. We said last week that when a person enjoys anything in the world, you have to have this spiritual awareness that the joy, that the experience has few dimensions. There is the onion skins, which is the physical central dimension, and there is the spiritual aspect that you have to train your mind and your heart. That's why we said it's called to guard. Guarding means a guardian is somebody who is responsible, who is aware, and is watchful and mindful. So when you train yourself to tap into the spiritual dimension of everything, then you can have the real fulfillment coming through. That happens for girls at 12 years old. Then you start to train yourself to do that, and boys from 13 years old. And if you don't do that, it's not a matter of religion or tradition, it's a matter of life and survival. Because, people who have this contentment, this spiritual contentment, they feel different. And because they feel different about everyday's life and whatever they go through, they respond differently. Which means if something, they react differently, let's say to business failures, right? Spiritual people who have a contentment that is not just about the money, it's about the other dimensions. So you don't get so much excited about the onion skins, because the real spiritual contentment, which the sages are saying, Olamcha tireh b'chayecha, you will see your next world still living on earth in your own body. This is the purpose of life. And as the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, is saying, the world was created for one purpose, pleasure. People were created as beings who need pleasure, who want pleasure, who chase pleasure, because God created us so we can connect and get fulfilled by that pleasure. Okay? But the problem is, this pleasure cannot come from carbohydrates, sugars. It cannot come out from all kinds of extreme experiences. It can come only from direct connection to God. And if you don't have that God dimension in your life, you don't train your mind and your heart to do that, then you have a problem. Because the emptiness will be so painful. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. Then you start to be addicted to money. And you steal. And you risk, you heard about Madoff? Madoff, who stole some $55 billion. He was the head of the stock market in Wall Street. How does somebody loses his name, his reputation, his family, his freedom, everything, sits now in jail, is trying to scam convicts by trying to raise the prices of the the drinks from the how do you call it, the machines. He buys them and then he gets high prices because he buys all the stock. That's what you were looking for. And the answer is, when you become addicted to money, you don't see anything. When somebody is addicted, he doesn't see anymore. He doesn't see the next step. He needs to have his quick fix. And this is dangerous, because when you become weak, you fall apart. Doesn't matter what's your background. So being spiritual is not a matter of luxury. When I'm set up with my life and I have the time, I'll be spiritual. No, this is a matter of survival. Like, you look back at your life, at your birthday. Doesn't matter if your birthday is 32 years old, 22 years old, 42 years old, 92 years old, 102 years old. You look backwards and you say, is it worth it? What's my gain? What did I get out of it? Was all the bothering, was it worth it? Life is, you have to get up in the morning, you have to schlep, you have to do this, you have to push, you have to argue, you have to negotiate, and many times people just are miserable. They're just miserable. Living. Why? Because they don't connect to the right part. They connect to the external part. So, now that we understand that, the question is, how do I do that? And then comes the Torah in this parasha. It says, Re'eh anochi noten ifnechem. See. What means see? Why not listen? So, if you know the Talmud, many parts in the Talmud start with the words ta-shma. Come and listen. If you're acquainted with the Zohar, many parts of the Zohar start with ta-chazi. Come and see. Okay? What's better, to see or to hear? And they say, one picture is worth 1,000 words. So we know that seeing is believing. Seeing is much higher than hearing. Still, what we learn from this parasha is you need both. Because it says, Re'eh anochi noten ifnechem. See, that's verse 26, the first verse of the parasha. The second verse of the parasha, 27, Et habracha shetishmu, the blessing when you listen. So why are you starting with seeing? So, think about it. We're standing on Mount Sinai. What does it say? Ve'ha'am ro'im et hakolot. And the people see the voices. Which means, on Mount Sinai, we're in the level of seeing, even when it's voices, seeing. When a person really gets it, what do you say? Now I see. You don't say, now I heard. Now I see. Because seeing is something higher than hearing. However, if you look carefully, there's a game over here. So, what's the game? The game is that when we study the Torah itself. This is, the quality is seeing. Because what does it mean, I see? I see, when I say I see, now I see, is I process the information. It could be that I heard many, many testimonies. I heard some explanations. And when I say now I see, is now I get a picture. Because all the voices and the words became a picture. Now, how do I get to see the picture? Study. You know, there's an internet site of the Mayo Clinic that says, and there's a part on that site that I like the most. It speaks about the healing power of positive thinking. And they give you a long list of diseases that it's scientifically proven that having or developing positive thinking will have a direct improvement in these diseases. There's a huge list of diseases, very common diseases, that when a person is training himself to think positive, there is a direct improvement, an immediate improvement in those and lingering improvement in those diseases. All the symptoms are becoming much better. Okay? Now, so they ask on the site, so how do you get positive to positive thinking? Just saying think positive, that's not enough. It says you have to study. You have to occupy your mind with study. And this is not talking about Torah. This is simple. Now, when we're talking about the Torah itself, which the sages are saying it has a metaphysical power, that when you study the Torah, it's not just about learning facts intellectually. It's really connecting and activating the subconscious part of your thinking into connecting to those layers of the onion that when you feed on them, you feel satiated. While modern thinking, modern education is training you only to focus on the onion skin level, which is the 0.00% of reality. As that's why the onion skin is just for the coloring. It's good only for the coloring. It's just the color. Can you imagine you have a salad. Now you look at the salad and you eat only the color. Would that give you the vitamins you need? Would that give you the energy you need? No, from the color you get almost nothing. Maybe some taste, but that's it. But it's very, very short term. That's exactly when your brain and your heart is focusing only on the superficial, only the materialistic. Well, the spiritual is so much more. And the studying of the Torah is considered to be seeing, because it trains your mind to see what the five senses cannot show you. And this is the most important part. Let's say you're married. Having a marriage is not about what you physically see, it's what you visualize, your vision. Okay? Having a business, it's not what you physically see, it's about your vision. And the vision, the richer is your imagination and more developed is your heart, then the more powerful and more motivating is your vision. And here we're talking about the vision, about what is life about. And now when we understand, as we go back to what we said about the creation, and God said, let there be light. The next is, and God saw that the light was good. We're not talking about physical light. The sun and the moon and the stars were created in the story of Genesis only on the fourth day. So what is that light we're talking about on the first day? So Rashi, the great commentator from the 11th century in France, says, we are not talking about physical light, we're talking about Or Haganuz, the hidden treasured light. What is this hidden treasured light? It says this is hidden for the righteous, which means when a person, understanding the Zohar, what the Zohar says, when a person has developed his consciousness of being righteous, he starts to feel that hidden light. And how do you know? Then the Zohar continues when it says, and God saw that the light was good. It means that every time you feel really good, it's a derivative. It's an extension of that light. And that means, if this is an extension of that light, this is a feeling, this is a fulfillment that has nothing to do with anything external. So when you say about somebody, this person is blessed, in our culture, we check how much money does he have in a bank, what kind of clothes does he wear, which kind of schools does he send his kids, which cars he's driving, what kind of watches is he wearing, right? We are not being trained about, is he happy? Is he a happy human being that is a mensch? It's a person that has love? No, this is not the measure anymore. So that's why you say we live in Alma Dashika, in a world of lies. Because when somebody is having all the great stuff physically, but he did not train himself to enjoy the spiritual aspect of life, he will always feel cheated. Whatever he has, say the sages, will always feel like depletion. It's like you buy a whole ton of onions and you eat only the skins. Would you be satiated? How good does it taste? Taste in color? Nothing. So you say, what's wrong with me? I have so much and I feel like I have nothing. Because your five senses and the logic of five senses tell you have a lot. And your neshama, your soul, tells you have nothing. And the scream is within, so then you try to get some more. But what do you know? You can get only what you can see. The problem is, you continue to do what you used to do, you continue to get what you used to get. If you continue to consume only on the superficial level, you continue to feel lacking and empty. Okay? So when it says, let's go back, so Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim Ben Attar, the great Kabbalist from Morocco, 16th century, he said, when we are talking about the blessing, it doesn't say, you can read it superficially, the blessing will be when you will hear the mitzvot of God. And he says, no, the blessing is when you can get fulfilled through the mitzvot. Do you understand the difference? When a person is reaching that state of mind in which he can fulfill himself from the spiritual realm, this is the blessing. And the curse is when you cannot fulfill yourself from the spiritual dimension. Then you are cursed. Even the Greeks had their story about it, the Midas touch. If you heard about the story about the Midas touch, it speaks about the king Midas. He had his wish, a wish to be fulfilled, and his wish was that whatever I touch will become gold. So all the food he had, the moment he touched it, became gold. And the worst of them all, when he touched his beloved daughter, she became a gold statue. You can get crazy about it. So is it the story about King Midas, or is it just a simple allegory about what happens to a person that he thinks that gold is everything, that he thinks that money is everything, that belonging is everything? It's all just a painting above. So now, how do you train yourself to see that? So we had that in a previous parasha, and now again in this parasha. And that will lead all the way to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur that we are just approaching. And the understanding is, as the Zohar says, remember, the world of metaphors was a lot taken from the agricultural world of the area around Jerusalem and the Upper Galilee, living in the mountains. And in order to feel blessed, the first thing you needed water. And in Israel, there's not enough rain. It's usually droughts. And between April and October, there are no rains at all. Okay? Very rarely, just a little bit. Just a few drops. So you need a source of water. So you needed a spring. in a spring, you know, the Israelites in the ancient times, they didn't just sit in front of the wall and waited for the drop to come out. So if the drop is coming out, it's coming from somewhere. So let's go after the drop and see where it's coming from. So they were digging inside the mountains, expanding the area inside to create a place that is void. It can suck the water from the walls, from the stone. And then they had they blocked the end, so the water accumulated inside and then it poured outside. So the inside the mountain, that's called the source. Okay? Then when the water pour outside, there was a reservoir, it's called the brecha, the pool. From the brecha, the aqueducts were going to the different fields around on the mountain, one above another. So there were aqueducts carrying the water. Now, carrying the water where to? To the field. So let's say you need to water your garden, so you pull the plug out, and then the water come out into different ways you make for the water, and then they water the trees, or they water the vegetables and stuff like this. When you finish watering, you replug it, and then the water can feed the other fields. Okay? So now the Zohar compares that to the different stages of consciousness. So when we are talking about the level that is called Chokhmah, which it says, Kulam b'Chokhmah asita, everything is created in Chokhmah. This is a very, very high dimension, in which it's like God said, let there be, everything was there. All the power, all the light, all the energy is already in that level that is called Chokhmah, which is translated into wisdom. Why? Because when everything is there, it's a very steady state. Why? When is there a movement? When there's a lack. When everything is there, there's no need for movement. Same thing, a wise person would not do something, would not make a mistake that a smart person can get out of. Right? Why? He knows from afar that this is a mistake. So wisdom looks like many times like passivity, but it's not passivity, it's simply knowing what not to do and what to do without the effort. Let's say a wise doctor, says Rav Ashlag, he sees the patient from few symptoms, he already knows what were the previous stages and what are going to be the next stages. He doesn't have to think about it. He can see it in one eye, like one look. You understand what I'm saying? So wisdom is a very passive place. Everything is complete. Now, this is the source. Now and it's called also Abba, Father. Okay? Now, the water come out and then it comes into that pool, brecha. Now, brecha in Hebrew, there's a kind of a game, because bracha, a blessing, you hear brecha and bracha, it's written the same letters. A blessing and the pool, that's where the water come out to, that's a reservoir. And it's called Ima, mother. Why? Who gives you your food? Your father or your mother? Usually, your mother gives you the food. So, you get your sustenance from Bina. That's why we have a special holiday, which is called Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. What do you know in Jewish tradition? What does it say? That on these holidays, you get sustenance, family, and life fed into your soul and into your body. So, we are connecting to that level that is called Bina, that level that is called the upper pool. So, if you know how to tap into it through the prayers, through the shofar blowing on Rosh Hashanah, and then through the prayers of Yom Kippur, now you can understand why Yom Kippur is in many places compared to a mikveh, because a mikveh is a body of water that if you immerse inside, it purifies your soul and your body, and also nurtures your soul. So Yom Kippur is you are going up to that upper pool, and we sit over there. And that's why Yom Kippur has the power to purify and to nourish without using the pipes of the aqueducts. Now, what about those pipes? The pipes of the aqueducts, they are being, like, in general, there are 6 of them. They are called Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, which are the upper triangle in the Star of David. Netzach, Hod, Yesod, which is the lower triangle of the Star of David. And then the middle, Malchut, this is the field. So when does a person become unlucky? The Kabbalists will say, when the person has accumulated too much judgment, what will that judgment do? Either it will block him from opening the plug. If you don't plug it out, you can't bring in any water, which means any luck. Luck, leak, right? Or in Hebrew it's the same. The word for good luck is mazal. What's the shoresh, the source of the word mazal? It's the letters nun, zayin, lamed. Flow or fluid, something that is fluid, has fluidity. Now, that's what which means. It's not, mazal is not about destiny. It's about fluidity. Which means, if the pipes are blocked, then you experience lack of luck because something is stuck. Now, how do you unstuck? Cleansing. You cleanse yourself. You cleanse the judgment. There are many ways. Once it's cleaning the field. Sometimes the field is full of debris and all kinds of stuff, and the water cannot flow into the different trees and the vegetables, so you have to clear that up. And then there's a flow. So you have to clear the judgment away from yourself. Then you feel how the flow floods yourself, and then you have that feeling, that contentment that is lasting and is not dependent on external things like recognition of other people, like physical, how much you have in the bank and what kind of cars you're driving. It doesn't become important. It's not important anymore, because as long as you have that contentment, then you do what you can afford, and it's okay. It's okay because you have the real contentment, because there's a flow. Sometimes the blockage is in the pipes, and for that you need to go a higher place of what is called teshuvah. Teshuvah means is returning the connection that was blocked. Because teshuvah means that you're returning back to connect to where? To the pool. Now, that could be some debris that is blocking the pipes or the aqueducts. So how do you open them up? You go in, then you put it aside, you take it outside, or whatever. How you open blockage. How do you do it on a spiritual level? Is first of all removing judgment. And what is judgment? Anger, upset, all kinds of guilt. Whatever is negative, that's called judgment. That's how we can understand why Rabbi Akiva was so important in understanding that, because there's a story about that Rabbi Akiva says, the whole Torah, the rule, the all-inclusive rule of the Torah is love others as you love yourself. Why did he say that? And the story can be understood from the way of his death. It says that Rabbi Akiva was born to a very low caste family in the times of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, where the caste system was very, very very fixed, very determining. Until 40 years old, he was just a simple shepherd, good for nothing. Nobody looked at him. And then the daughter of his employee fell in love with him. Like his employee was so rich, like legendary rich. She saw something in him. And she said to him, "I'll marry you only if you study." And he did study for 40 years. For 40 years, he switched his consciousness. After these 40 years, he became one of the greatest leaders of the Jewish people. Now, his teachings are like the base of what we know as Jewish wisdom. The Mishnah, it's all written by his students. Okay? The Mishnah. And then the Talmud, later on. Okay? For 40 years, he led the nation. He had a lot of money, a lot of respect, a lot of students, a lot of health and happiness. 40 years. So remember, 40 years old, he was a shepherd, and then he started to study. So he studied for 40 years. He was 80 when he became a leader. For another 40 years, now he's a leader for 40 years. Remind you anyone? Moses? Moses was a prince for 40 years. 40 years he was wandering around the world, and 40 years he was the leader of the Israelites in the desert. Okay? Now, on his last day, there was a rebellion before that, and Rabbi Akiva is being caught by the Romans. They take him to their capital in Israel of that time, Caesarea. They take him to the big theater over there, and in front of 1,000 cheering Romans, they skinned him alive. And he says that one of his students came from the crowd and says, Rabbi Akiva, the great Rabbi Akiva, this is what is the reward for being righteous and for your study. And Rabbi Akiva looked at him and, you shut up, you snake. All my life, I waited for this moment. What? Is he a masochist? You know, the Torah is not teaching about masochism. And the understanding is, and you listen carefully, the day was Yom Kippur. That was his 120th birthday. And he was looking at his life and he was saying, all my life in the last 40 years, I was saying to myself, I have this amazing contentment. I'm a happy person. I'm so much fulfilled for my study and for my achievements. And it's all spiritual, but how do I really know? Maybe I'm cheating myself. Maybe I'm just content because I'm rich, I'm healthy, I'm respectful. So many people give me respect and covenant and stuff like this. How do I know? Maybe I'm cheating myself. Maybe it's all illusion. So the Romans, they took his dignity. The cheering Romans, they took his respect away. Skinning him alive, they took away his physical comfort. And when that was happening, he said, God, thank you so much for giving me that test. Now, although all of this is happening and I don't have any of my physical achievements with me, I still feel the love of God and the fulfillment of the spiritual world, fulfilling myself, and this is more than anything else. Now I know that I'm not cheating myself. He said, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And when he finished Echad, his soul left. And then the Zohar says the Romans got mixed up. They couldn't see his body. They started to scrape a stone next to him. And Elijah the prophet took his body from Caesarea and buried him in Tiberias in a cave, where he's buried till today. And we connect to that Rabbi Akiva every Yom Kippur, and people don't notice that. Says Rabbi Zakura, how do you start Yom Kippur? Kol Nidrei. How do you start Kol Nidrei? Opening the ark. And when you open the ark, what do you say? The whole congregation is repeating again and again, Or Zarua LaTzadik Ulishrei Lev Simcha. A light is seated for the righteous, and the people with a righteous heart will have the happiness. It's exactly what we're talking about. However, Or Zarua LaTzadik Ulishrei Lev Simcha, that verse, the last letter of every word of this sentence comes out to Rabbi Akiva. So, why? Because in Yom Kippur, we are training ourselves to connect to the real supernal pool, to that place that all real fulfillment is coming from. Real love, real happiness, real contentment, real pleasure. When you achieve that pleasure and that contentment, that stays forever. It never goes away. It's not like liquor or cake or ice cream, that it's tasty for a while, and if you eat too much of it or you drink too much of it, then you have the morning after. You hate yourself, you're miserable. What happened to that contentment you had before? It was all superficial because it was gone. Not just gone, leaving a void behind it. The contentment that Yom Kippur is standing for is the real one, is a filling up, and that's why Yom Kippur is considered to be like a big mikveh. You know, what's the most kosher mikveh in the world? It's that pool that is connected to the source of the spring. This is the highest level mikveh, in the pool of the spring, and that is Yom Kippur. We are bathing in that place, and Yom Kippur is about training ourselves to tap into it. So now, seeing is the ability to learn the Torah till our brain and our hearts will be able to tap into that spiritual energy. Listening, it says the mitzvot, that's the mitzvot, the actions that we do it as we learned in last week. It's like, by doing the mitzvot, it's like you're drawing something from your bank. You're drawing something from your account. It's like you don't need to tell God, I need this and this and this. You know why? He already gave it to you. He already deposited it in your account, in the creation, say the Kabbalists. So what do I need to do? Why don't I see it in my life? You know what? You have a lot of money in your account, in your banking account, the worldly bank. It doesn't just hop out of your bank into the, buying stuff. You need to make an action. You have to give a check, right? You have to make a wiring. You have to draw. You have to make an action. The mitzvot are the actions of drawing. But if you don't think it, it doesn't happen. I'll give you that example again. There is this book that became a bestseller, and then movies. It's called, I think, the Witch and the Lion in the Wardrobe, something like this, right? It's a British story about kids in the time of the World War II going to the country. There were a lot of books written on that note, and they found this magical wardrobe, big closet. Some people, when they open that closet, what do they see? A lot of fur coats. But people with magic, they see a whole magical kingdom behind the coats. When somebody opens the ark in the synagogue, some people just open a closet, and some people open the gates to the magical kingdom of the Torah. How far does it go? It goes up, when you open the ark, up to the level of Chokhmah, to that highest level of the source. What do you do next? The Zohar says, when you open the ark, the gates of mercy in heaven open up. So what do? Ask. Then you ask for this, and you ask for this, and make a blessing. Especially the Sephardim, they do most of the blessings they do when the ark is open. Why? The gates are open. So what do you do now? Ignore it? Then we take the Torah outside. So the Rabbi Zohar is saying, we're taking the bliss, the flow outside, to bring it where? To the middle of the synagogue. The people sit around the bima. So you want to bring the light so everybody can come up and connect it from all directions. But if you didn't train your consciousness, you just open a closet. You just take a simple parchment. There's no magic into it. There's no life into it. It's simply tradition. And if you do it or you don't do it, it doesn't matter. So when you don't attach to the magic, you don't attach to what? To the 99.99% of your own reality. And that's why you feel always deprived. You're lacking the meaning. You're lacking the fulfillment that you were, as a human being, were created for. From the inception, from the beginning of the creation. This is why it is so important. And that's why studying Kabbalah, studying the Zohar, By studying, you're basically connecting yourself to sight, re'eh, to the wisdom. And by doing the actions, you're pulling, you're drawing from the pool, you're drawing the bliss into your own life. So now you can understand the verse, Et habracha asher tishmor mitzvot Hashem. What is the blessing? When you're capable of drawing that energy, that bliss, when you study and when you learn and when you make the mitzvot. This is the blessing. And what is the curse? That whatever you do, it's void, it's empty, it's meaningless, it's just superficial. Till you look like, I have the house, I have the family, I have that. Whatever my mom told me, you work hard, you study well, you be honest, and then you'll have and you'll be happy. And I'm not. I have all of it, I'm not happy. And you hear about it. They're like professors in business school are saying we're teaching the wrong stuff. We're teaching people what? Business, it's all about the bottom line. No, business is not about the bottom line. Business is about, do you have rapport? Do you have a kind of a feeling of a community with your suppliers, with your customers, with your peers, with your colleagues? Do you feel that there's a meaning? It's not just about the money. It's about the community. Businesses that teach that are much more successful than businesses that don't teach that. Because you know what happens. If it's all about the money, it's a high and buy. You're going up, you make a lot of money, and then you start this self-destruction known already path. Because you get drunk from the power, but you're still having the morning after emptiness. And then, how can I get some more of this quick fix? And it goes into the drugs, into the alcohol, into all of these addictions that we know very well. Going back to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, the inclusive role of everything is loving others as you love yourself. How? Should we love God? And Rav Ashlag, that also passed away on Yom Kippur, says, how do you know you love God? You don't really know Him. But people you do know. And you can see it on their face, if there's love or not. You think, I love this person. Yeah, but every time you talk to them, they really want to, to move away, to go along, to go somewhere else, to do something. They don't really love you. They're not happy being with you. So there's a feedback. And that feedback is the most important thing, because the moment we're really connecting to true pleasure, to true fulfillment, we love people. Unconditionally. That's how I know I really made the connection. The moment I'm empty, I don't care for people. I don't have the power for people because I'm depleted. And again, what are the symptoms? First, you can't stand people. Second, you start addictions. And we get into addictions when we are weak and depleted. Now understanding that, the rest of the parasha is just around these issues. And we know when a person is empty, then he gets upset about everything. And then the next thing is about, chapter 12 is about idol worshipping. We don't have idol worshipping anymore. Oh yes, we do. The Talmud says that anger is like idol worshipping. So we do have idol worshipping. When is that we are angry? When we are not fulfilled. When we are depleted. When we feel that deep fear, look, I'm trying and I'm not getting there. That's when we get angry. When we're afraid. When we have certainty and connection, we don't get angry. We're trying to find a solution. We have certainty. Things don't look that well, but deep inside, when I'm fulfilled, I have trust. And by the way, it doesn't worth it to lose that feel of fulfillment in order to get panic. So that's called self-esteem, that's called trust, that's called balance, and it's all coming from true fulfillment. Now, the next issue is about something very important. Verse 11, chapter 12. When you come to the promised land and you are settled, והיה מקום אשר יבחר השם אלוקיכם בו לשכן שמו שם. There will be that place that God will show you to put his name over there. And he's using the word the place. If you go to the story of the binding of Isaac, the word the place appears so many times connected to that place of the binding, which is the place that later on King David is buying from the king of the Jebusites, and later on his son King Solomon builds a temple upon that place. Okay? And how is Abraham calling that place? Hashem yireh et asher yamer hayom behar Hashem yireh. God will see. Whatever is going to be said in this place is going to be seen. He's using the verb re'eh twice. Re'eh, what's the name of the parasha? Re'eh. And going. And here he says, and 3 times a year, you should be seen in that holy place that God will show you. Again, to see. So you understand that seeing is not just physical eyesight. Seeing means connecting. Connecting to the source. That's what it means. This parasha is about connecting to the source. Connecting to the place of wisdom. Because when we can connect to the source, we can draw from there certainty, power, love, peace of mind, and wisdom. It's all in one. And it's all under one thing. It's called seeing. How do you achieve seeing? Study. Study, study. It trains your mind to see what other people are not capable of seeing, because they didn't train their mind to do that. So they don't see the magic. They don't know how to connect to that thing, and to that thing which is the most valuable. And then you see that the verb to see appears in that again and again. How many times do you need to see God? It's like how many times? That the 3 pilgrimage. Now, why 3? Chesed, Passover, Gvura, Sukkot, Tiferet, Shavuot, says the Zohar. There are 3 holidays. There are not 3 holidays. There are 3 gates, heavenly gates, that we can go up in consciousness and get kind of a upgrade our consciousness 3 times a year in every holiday like this. What is Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? It's not just a traditional holiday commemorating something. These are gates, heavenly gates, in which you can go and connect to the source of life in order to be able to draw life for a whole year. It's not about tradition. If people know that, who would be out of the synagogue on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah? Are you crazy? You know, there's a Hebrew thing about somebody behaves like with stupidity. And you know, there's a joke like asking him, where were you when God was giving away brains? So, if somebody goes through hardship during the year, you ask him, where were you when God was giving the good luck? Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, where were you? No, I was in the synagogue. But where were you? You're not connecting. You're just maybe going through the words, maybe you like the melody of the Chazan, but did you really connect? Did you really fill up your tank? Did you really water your fields? Did you really activate the aqueducts? Did you really bathe in the upper pool? This is what we're talking about. And the study will enable the person to be that place and to feel it's real, more than money, more than all kinds of belongings. Again, the Torah is not against having all kinds of beautiful stuff. But don't look at it as your cause of pleasure. This is not where pleasure is really coming from. These are means. They're never the goal. Okay? So basically, we have that mostly covered, what this parasha is about. Oh, except for one more thing. They've chapter 13, verse 1. All of this you should, again, tishmeru la'asot, you guard in order to make the action, consciousness and action, okay? Do not take even a little bit out of it, and do not add anything on it. That's the way it is. Don't even think about changing that. It's perfect. If you think it's not perfect, you have to change who? Yourself. This what is given is perfect. That's how the universe works. Okay? Why does it say? Because the next verse, verse 2, in chapter 13, Ki yakum b'kirbecha navi o cholem chalom. If there will be amongst you a prophet or somebody who had a dream, and he will have miracle, he will be miracle maker. He will be able to make miracles that a lot of people will see. And he will tell you to change one iota of this Torah. Is a false prophet. This can never be changed. You cannot re-edit the Torah. Oh, they made a mistake over here. Or they made a mistake over here. It says, don't do that. Do not listen to him, and so on and so forth. Now, it says over here that, if he continues with that, you should kill him. But said, it's like, oh, false prophet, to the fire, get him to the stakes. No. The Torah says you have to check 7 times. And the checks are so sophisticated, it's very hard to execute somebody. But at least you don't listen to people who try to say, there's something wrong with the book. We are okay, the book is wrong. You don't have it. And you see that. Just one more thing. It says, chapter 14, verse 1. Banim atem la'Adonai Elokechem. You are God's sons. Each one of you. Each one of you is God's child. Each one of you. And therefore, is that person God's son? This person God's son? Yes, we all are God's sons. So you have to behave by that. And one of them is, Lo titgodedu velo tasimu korcha ben einechem. Do not mourn. Do not, when people mourn in the old world, they will pull their hair and scratch their faces and stuff like this. Do not do that. Why? Lamet. Translation. It's translated like it says, don't do that for a dead person or because of a dead person. And Rabbi has a Gloria, he says, look at the word. The way it says in Hebrew is not le-met, for a dead person, it's la-met. La, it's a lamed with a kamatz. A lamed with a kamatz, you read it as la. There is no grammatical structure like this in Hebrew. The only way to look at it is it's 2 words, says Rabbi Zachariah. La, met. La means no. Met means death. He didn't die. Nobody dies. Only the elusive part is gone. Only the physical body is gone. People don't really die. They just leave the body. The body stays in the grave or whatever, and the soul moves on. Nobody really dies. So if nobody really dies, why do you mourn so much if nobody really dies? Now remember, what's the connection to the beginning? If you train your mind and your heart to connect to the real aspect of this universe, the real world, then you can feel that when somebody dies, only the physical appearance is dead, but the real soul never dies. Sometimes you can connect to it through a dream, sometimes you can feel them helping you, sometimes you can feel the presence, and sometimes you simply wait, and then after you go, you meet them in the next station, because they never died, the same way you never die. A child of God can die. If God is eternal, can his child die? No. Our soul is eternal. Only the body, the skin, the onion skin, only that can die, but the soul cannot die. Ki am kadosh ata, because you are a holy nation. And that's why you have to keep yourself clean, and you have to behave by that code. So we can talk a lot about it, but here Moses is really moving us ahead one more step. This parasha is about the ability to see who is blessed, who is cursed. And it's not about how it looks like. It's much deeper than that. Seeing is much deeper than just seeing like in science. And to be able to see the blessing in a certain action. The ability to see the blessing in money, which is blessing only when you use it to make the world better. If it's just staying in the bank, it's not making anybody happy. Like using every moment, having that this is the blessing, and the curse is not being able to see the blessing, is to be able to see only the superficial. And then you go around like, what's wrong with me? What's missing? Why is my life everybody says it's so great, and I don't feel it's great. Every time somebody says, oh, you have such a great life, and I feel like, oops, I don't feel like this. Why I don't feel like this? Because you don't have to wait for the first million, maybe the 10th million to be happy. It's that feeling that Moses says later on, it is in your mouth, beficha ubilvavcha, in your mouth and in your heart. When you make that connection, when you see where's the blessing, then you get fulfilled. This is being lucky. Thank you so much.